Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it's time for your fantasy football break. What's up, everyone? There's Proud Mommy. How we doing tonight? Who else do we have on? Hope everyone had a good weekend. While my mic is leaning here, if we can fix it real quick. No Smitty tonight. Smitty is under the weather. Brian, what's going on? Logan, what's up, my man? Yes, Smitty is under the weather, so I'm a one-man band tonight. Kyle, how we doing? I hope I can still be somewhat entertaining and get you some great information. Great, except I lost Barkley, bro. That is a tough loss, Brian. That is a tough loss. We're going to talk about that tonight. Give you some ideas of some replacements. Weekend was good today. Sucks. Sorry to hear that, Aaron. Eric said, ha ha ha. I lost the game this week hard. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Proud Mommy. I did all right. I won 3, lost 2, just like last week. But the good news was the 2 that I lost last week, both money leagues, and so I really needed the win in those. I won in all of my money leagues this week. I go against James next week. Oh, that's going to be a duel there. Alvin Kamara gave me the win this week too. Very nice. I had some people help me out at the very end. Some of the Raiders helped me out with some wins, thankfully. Just in the nick of time on a couple teams. Relied on the Dolphins. I'm not with the Dolphins. I hope I didn't tell you Dolphins. Oh, you're going against Carissa's going against me. Go against some G. David Smitty is not here. He is under the weather, so sucks for y'all, but you get stuck with only me. But I got some good notes. Hopefully I can give you guys some good information. That's why she wanted you to throw in the towel. Still have Mixon, David Johnson, Leonard Fournette, Brown. You got some stuff there. David Johnson's not going to be too good this week going against, I think, the Raven defense. Mixon's having a slow start, but I think he can pull it together. Fournette, jury's still out on that. I don't want anything to do with that backfield or Malcolm Brown's backfield. Happy Thursday, Ember Path. Or no, Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Dougie Doug, wow, notes bring it. I brought some notes. My team for next week will be compared to James's team. All right, well, if you haven't already, please share to where you can. Show that you care and share. Share the stream to your Facebook. Share it to any groups that you can. Keep the Facebook, or keep our little community growing. Ember Passive, we are officially 0-2. Hey, you know what? It's only week 2. It's like I got a text message yesterday. I was at the end of the game. I was down by like 1 point. It's my fraternity league. I got a text message saying, how much are you puckered right now? And I said, you know what? I'm really not. It's week 2. No reason to stress yet. It is week 2. I mean, let's face it, guys. You do not win fantasy football in the draft. It doesn't happen. It's what you do after the draft that actually wins your league. Clarissa says you got to get her. Clarissa says she has to get a running back. Well, we're going to give some ideas on some running backs, some ideas what you can do. Because it was a rough week. Probably mommy says I'm a noob, so we'll see. You know what? What's up, Roger? I will tell you, noobs have the best luck when it comes to fantasy football, it seems. Like, I almost hate playing with new players because they always seem to win. Including myself. I won my very first year. I won the Super Bowl. So sometimes I think that's an advantage because when you're new, you really can't outthink yourself too much. I'll have to do it this next year. Only week 1 did I have luck so far. Well, there's only been 2 weeks, so you're 50-50. I'm going to beat you. This Carissa, I guess, going against me in one of my leagues. Just blind pick. Freeman, he's my waiver wire this week to replace Barkley. We go a handful of different ideas on that, Brian. Kyle, 0 points. I had noob versus noob my first matchup. Oh, that's funny. So this was a crazy week. We saw some big names go down. I think we saw more injuries in a single weekend than I think ever of watching football since I was a little itty bitty kid. And it was just some of the Gronk's Gronk shouldn't even been drafted. Shouldn't even drafted Gronk. Gronk should have never been picked in the first place. Waste of a pick. I don't get why people don't listen to the coach. The coach even said we're only planning on using Gronk for special situations. We have 2 other tight ends on the team that are better than him right now. Were they better than him in his prime? No. Is Gronk in his prime? No. Gronk is drop Gronk. Pick someone else up. That's a waste of a bench spot. But I did not pick Barkley or McCaffrey. And you know what? McCaffrey's coming back now. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, and you never know. He could be back in 3. McCaffrey's coming back. I would not drop McCaffrey. I can understand maybe if you trade him away or something, but I would not drop McCaffrey. Barkley you can just drop if it's a redraft league. But McCaffrey's going to come back. Now, McCaffrey's not going to be what he was last year. He could come back too early. He's going to, he could come back before he's fully healed. Let's face it, that team is just not as good as it was. Kyle says I need a trade for a tight end. We're going to talk about trades also tonight. Give you guys some ideas. I'll tell you what, that's one reason I stack up on a running back. There's always injuries at running backs, and there's so far few between good running backs. So I'm going to give you guys just an example. A lot of you are in here are on in this one league with me. So I'm going to pull it actually up. It's the one Clarissa, Hey You 1 and Hey You 2 are in. Now this team's a little stacked also because it is a smaller league. This is only an 8-man versus I'm in 10-mans. I'm in 12-mans. But running backs in here because running backs are hard. I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire on my team. I have Drake. I have Miles Sanders. I have Mixon. I have Carson. I have Mostert. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 good running backs on the team. Now I'm weak in some areas, but I got some great pieces that I can trade because though that's the smallest group of things that you seem to put the most value. So when other people are loading up on receivers, I'm taking the stud running backs. I'm taking 3 down backs. So I ended up, I don't got a ton of receivers on this team, but I got some great running backs. So people like who lost Barkley, who lost Metcalf, now they're going to be seeking a running back. Are they going to go want to pick up one of these? Might have a shot. Not so good, but I have to play someone running backs. Or are they going to want to trade? This is the time I start looking at potential trades, especially if you lose someone. Do I want to take some of the available people out there? So we're going to talk about waiver wires, and then we'll get more into the trades. So let's look at this. Let's talk about waiver wires. We're going to talk about wide receivers first. What I was looking at was people wide receivers that are owned 60 or less percent on Yahoo teams. And I'm going to tell you guys about what I look like, what I look for when I'm looking at potential roster spots and people that I'm picking up. You got to realize, just because someone scored a lot of points, that could be an outlier. Just because they had one good week doesn't mean they're the next star. We see it all the time. I take the names out of it, and I look at more than just 1 week or 2 weeks. There's other numbers to look at, so we're going to talk about some of that. So one of the receivers that I saw owned 48% of the time. Handcuffs would come into play now, but the problem is the people that went down, Proud Mommy, is the running backs that went down didn't really have great people behind them to be the handcuffs you would want to grab, nor are they on good teams. They themselves, like Christian McCaffrey, is a stud. Barkley is a stud. Because of the volume they got, because they were studs, they were still going to score a good amount of points. But their teams are horrible. So you go take someone who's not a stud now and put them behind there, they're not going to score the same. Where if you were to take, just take for the Dallas Cowboys, Zeke goes down, his backup will still score a lot of points because it's a good offensive team. They can't stack the box. They're going to have lots of scoring opportunities. But it's not really McCaffrey's handcuff was not someone you wanted. Barkley's handcuff is not someone you wanted. They're not good enough on their own. Where there's other running backs out there that their backups could be stars if they weren't there because of how good they are. Handcuffs still kinky. So let's get into the wide receivers first. First one I have is only owned in 48% of the leagues. Deshaun Jackson. Week 1, he got. Here's the thing. One thing that I really like to look at. Week 1, he got 7 targets. Week 2, he got 9 targets. Targets is a huge factor. A guy could get 2 targets and 2 touchdowns, and that's just called luck. That doesn't mean every 2 targets he gets, or every target he's going to get from now on, is he going to get a touchdown. He might look like huge fantasy points 1 week because he got 2 targets and they both happen to be touchdowns. No, I'm not chasing that guy. But someone like Deshaun Jackson, who had 7 targets and then 9 targets, the coaches already came out and said his usage is going to go up. They were slowly working him into the system, which so far looks to be true because his targets did go up. They don't have a lot of weapons to throw to. He's the one receiver not hurt that knows the system, that has rapport with the quarterback. The team is not good, so they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. It's another thing I like to look at. If the team's real good and they can just run the ball, it's sort of like the Titans. Their best receiver goes down. Am I looking to grab someone else on the Titans as a receiver? Maybe not necessarily, because they're going to run. They have to throw the ball. They're not good. They're going to have to try to keep up. So I like Deshaun Jackson. He's only owning 48% of leagues. He's trending the right way. Also, I want to talk about another Eagle here. Only owned 35% of Yahoo leagues. Jalen Reagor. Now, his targets aren't huge, but one thing I want to point out. He's both started. He's a rookie, so it's usually they go up. It takes some time. He got 4 targets week 1. He got 4 targets week 2. The thing that really stands out to me, though, is in week 2, he got 4 targets and he caught all 4 balls. That tells me his rapport is getting higher and higher with his quarterback. Again, team is horrible. They have to throw the ball. My Miami Dolphins suck. That's the Saints don't do too bad. No, you're not trading me Jerry Rice. Trade Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. All right, another one I want to talk about, Russell Gage for Atlanta, which is amazing to me that I want to talk about him because he is maybe the 4th target on the team. But again, this defense can't seem to stop anybody. They have to throw the ball. And again, his targets. Targets are key. Week 1, 12 targets. Week 2, 9 targets. Guys, that is an opportunity. Every target is an opportunity. So, is he going to get the same amount of points he's going to get that he's been getting the first 2 weeks? No. But he's going to get the opportunity to at least try, where someone who's only getting 2 targets, he only gets 2 opportunities to try to put up some points. I rather take a guy, especially as bye weeks come, take a guy who's going to get 12 opportunities versus a guy that's going to get 2 opportunities. And again, your defense can't seem to stop anybody, thankfully, because they were up 20-0 against my Cowboys. Somehow, still I managed to lose. Tell you, Cowboys had horrible play calling. They horrible play calling, horrible play. They turned over the ball 3 times, 2 horribly called fake punts, and still won the game. That is not a testament of how good the Cowboys are. That's a testimony of how bad the Falcons are, which means they're going to have to throw the ball. So Russell Gage. Another one that I found very interesting, Russell Gage only owned at 23%. Another one I want to talk about, Robbie Anderson, only owned at 63% of the leagues. He's had 2 weeks in a row now over 100 yards. First week, 8 targets. Second week, 10 targets. And I don't think they really have a true number 1 wide receiver on that team. And that team is bad. They just lost CMC, which means they're going to have to throw the ball even more. And he seems to be the guy that's stepping up to the plate. And one more wide receiver for y'all to look at. And this one wasn't really about the targets, but more of the injuries. Brandon Cooks of the Texans. He is owned in 59% of Yahoo leagues. And just like I said at the beginning of the year, they were going to go against Kansas City, get stomped because they're not good. They're going to go then with the Ravens, get stomped because they're not good. And then week 3 will come and they'll start having injuries because Texans cannot stay healthy. They got to be the most injury-prone team in the NFL, and thank God they play for Houston, or play in Houston, capital of the world for hospitals, because the Texans need them. So Fuller looks to be out, which really is their best receiver when he's on the field. Can't stay on the field. So Brandon Cooks looks to be the person to get the job, and since they're not very good, again, they're going to have to throw the ball. Again, we're not looking for necessarily good teams, looking for opportunities. I remember there was a couple years it seemed like that I kept getting like Gordon on the Browns, and people just always laugh at me. Browns suck. Yeah, the Browns suck. They were always playing from behind, so they always have to throw the ball. It's called garbage time points. So Gordon would give you a ton of points because all they could do was throw the ball. You didn't want a running back on a bad team. But you want wide receivers. Like Jacksonville's put up some good wide receivers because they've been horrible forever. Kyle, Will Fuller needs to retire. Kyle, half the Texans football team needs to retire. J.J. Watt had a great career. The guy needs to retire. He's always hurt. Brandon Cooks, always hurt. David Johnson, always hurt. Will Fuller, always hurt. Like, it's just, like, they just need to start over. They got to rebuild now. They had their opportunity. They got rid of the best, arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now. They need a new coach and a new GM. Some of the big injuries this week, and the receivers, Cortland Sutton out. Their quarterback is actually looks to be out too, and I don't know if I trust anybody now. They're going to have horrible quarterback play, and their best receivers are going to be Jerry Jeudy, which I love Jerry Jeudy. I think he's going to be an all-star for NFL. But playing under those conditions, and rookies don't really do usually a ton in at least the first half of the first year. I don't think I want anything to do with it. Fuller's had 15 plus hamstring injuries. And as we said after week 1, Sammy Watkins went off. I saw messages on here, man, why did I drop Sammy Watkins? I saw other people, I'm getting Sammy Watkins. Me and Smitty both said, don't do it. He always has one good game, then he'll be injured, then he won't show up, then he'll have one good game, then he'll get injured again. Guess what? Sammy Watkins has a kick. Who would have guessed? Oh yeah, that's right. Smitty did. The guy it's patterns, guys. It's patterns, it's numbers. Stay away from it. So now, out of all those receivers, I'll tell you who I'm going to put a waiver claim in. Who am I actually going to use my waiver spot? And I'm going to tell you, I have the number 1, I think, or number 2 waiver claim in every one of my leagues right now. One reason I ended up drafting most of the time late, and everybody gets all worked up and overexcited in week 1. After week 1, they go to put all their claims in and use them, and then I just go to the top of the list. And I wait then for someone that's really good, that I really... Out of these guys, are any of them worth a number 1 waiver pick? No. And there's enough of them out there, 48%, 35%, 23%, 63%, 59%. Or at least probably one of these guys still going to be available tomorrow morning for me to pick up if I have someone I want to drop for free without using a waiver claim. Chances are, yeah. None of them are worth, to me, a waiver wire. And receivers are so easy to find. So easy. You can play matchups. Like right now, like I'll play almost any receiver versus the Vikings. I don't care what their name is. It's the Vikings. And it looks like their offense is atrocious. Look what the Falcons might be the same way. You can stream those. I'm not willing to use my pick on my number 1 on them. Let's talk running backs. Man, some big names. CMC out 4 to 6 weeks. Barkley out for the season. Here's the bad thing. You really want the guy that backs that person up? Both these teams are horrible. Giants are horrible. They have the clapper calling offensive plays for him, Jason Garrett. Horrible team. I don't want running backs on horrible teams unless they're just absolute studs like CMC and Barkley. But their backups aren't absolute studs. If they were, they wouldn't be backups. So, do I think any of these backups or people that pull up, do I really necessarily want them? Not really. I rather now, to me, all that means is they're going to have to throw the ball even more, which might bring some more value to their receivers, to their tight ends, because they're going to have to move the ball even more like that. Dump down passes are going to go more to the tight end. So Ingerman for tight end for the Giants, his value goes up, not the backup running back. But saying all that, the Giants have signed Devontae Freeman. I like Devontae. I really do. He's done great for me in fantasy in the past. Giants still has a horrible offensive line, though. Freeman can catch the ball. So can he bring some value? Freeman can bring some value. I like Freeman. If they would have stuck with who they had now, like Dion Lewis, I'm not interested. But I would take a flyer on Devontae Freeman and see what he has left. He's signed this deal to prove that he still has it, so he can go get a big pay. And if anybody can do it, I think he can do it. He's been not so great the last couple of years, but he believes in it himself. I take a flyer, but I'm still not using a waiver pick. Unless maybe depending on who's on my team and if I lost CMC or Barkley. If I didn't lose one of them, am I going to use a waiver pick on Devontae Freeman? No, I'm not. Freeman's he had 1,000 yards on that. He's a good running back. There's no doubt about that. But Freeman also, you got to remember, played for a team like the Atlanta Falcons, who have Ridley, who have Matt Ryan throwing the ball, who stretch the field. They have Julio Jones. They always have a tight end who can catch the ball. So they're stretching the field. You can't stack the box on the Falcons because they have too many receivers, which gave him running lanes. Who do the Giants have? Who's their quarterback? Daniel Jones? Who's afraid of Daniel Jones? What receivers is a NFL team worried about on the Giants? Who's their number one receiver? They're going to stack the box. They're going to stack the box. Because you don't have to worry about the passing game. So, Freeman's good, and he'll get some volume, which will make him playable. But don't expect to get Barkley numbers, and Barkley didn't even look like he was going to have great numbers just because everybody keeps stacking the box on. Which I'm alright with. Go Cowboys. Let's talk about some other running backs. Myles Gaston. He's owned in 16% of the leagues, and I can't believe beginning of the year I said I want nothing to do with Miami, period. Period. Didn't want anything. No receivers, nothing. I want to see their rookie quarterback come out and play. Other than that, I want nothing to do with the Dolphins. But I tell you what, and nobody even knew who this kid was. They had two other running backs. Everyone said, which one's the stud? Which one's the stud? Guess what? It's neither one of them. Myles Gaston only rushed 7 times this last week. But on top of that, he caught 6 out of 7 passes. They're not good. They're going to have to throw the ball. He can do both. He looked good. 6 catches is automatically 6 points if you're in a PPR league. He's a good flex play. He's warming up. They might start feeding him more and more the way he's playing. I'm interested in Miles Gaston. I know, Brian's like, who? Miles Gaston, running back for Miami Dolphins. Again, I'm not looking for the big names. I'm looking at numbers. I'm a numbers person. 6 out of 7 catches out of the backfield. That's strong. Only 7 rush attempts, but they haven't gave volume to any of their running backs. Miles Gaston's for the Dolphins. Am I going to use a number 1 waiver wire claim on him? No. But am I willing to, tomorrow morning, grab him if I have someone willing to drop, see what happens there? Yes, I'm very interested in him. And if you're hurting on running backs, especially if you're in a PPR league, he's a sneaky pick to use a waiver claim on. Traded Stafford and cut for Michael Thomas, 2 quarterback league. They're at 0-2. Some are. Is it a fair trade? Miles Thomas is hurt. I'm not sure when he's going to come back. It's 2 quarterback leagues. So Stafford's actually a pretty good piece to have because it's 2 quarterbacks. If it was a 1 quarterback league, it'd be different. Cup's down right now. So actually, I think it's but I still like him as a player, but doesn't look like he's going to be what he was last year. So I actually think it's a pretty fair trade. Pretty fair trade in my opinion. Unless it's really outrageous, I'm not vetoing a trade. So Josh, I don't think that's a bad trade. Especially since you said it's a 2 quarterback league. All right. One more running back to talk about. Joshua Kelly. 23 attempts last game. 23. I don't want Larry Fitzgerald, Kyle. They got one main guy. They're throwing the ball and then they're trying to run. Give me that Texan wide receiver. Oh yeah, he's Cardinals. He's like the number 2 guy now, or number 3 guy now on their team. Joshua Kelly, 23 attempts last game. He is the backup, but he got more touches than Austin Eckler. They've always used 2 backs. He seems to be more powered, but catches the ball too. He's a handcuff, but also playable now. Joshua Kelly's probably, he's owned in 40% of the league, and he'd probably be my number 1 probably pickup if I were to use a claim. Again, I'm not in a position that I am forced. I have to use a claim. Hopefully it's only week 2, you're not either. But if you are, he's probably one of the first running backs I'm looking at. Him or Freeman. Since Freeman actually signed, I'd probably, because when I wrote this, he wasn't, I'd probably put Freeman above him just because he will be getting all the touches. Tight ends. Get your mind out of the gutter. Talk about tight ends. Jonas Smith, Tennessee. He got owned in 68% of leagues. Touchdowns in both games. Tennessee likes to use the tight end. Not a huge amount of targets, but they like to use tight ends, especially in the red zone. Miles Giletsky, another Dolphin. 5 targets week 1, 11 targets week 2. They don't really have a lot of people who can actually catch the ball. They're going to play behind a lot. His target shares are going up. Logan Thomas from Washington, another team, not very good, has to throw the ball a lot. First week got 8 targets. Second week got 9 targets. He has the opportunity. Washington has a great wide receiver, not a great quarterback. They're going to have to throw the ball, and they can't always throw it to McLaren. They need someone else to be able to catch the ball, and it looks like they're looking for Logan Thomas to be that guy. and he's only on 30% of the time. Great opportunity there. And then Dalton Schultz, the backup tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, now the starter because of injuries. Dalton Schultz got 10 targets. Cowboys do love playing the tight end. It's kind of their safety blanket. So there's your tight ends. Defenses of the weeks. A couple defenses to look at. I never use a waiver wire on defense. But Tampa Bay does play Denver. Denver's not going to be very good, especially after their injuries. And Colts versus New York Jets. Again, not a very good team. The Jets, Gronk, my MVP. Never going to happen. 43% the Colts are owned. Those are two teams I'd be willing to stream this week. I stream every week. Quarterbacks, if you are streaming quarterbacks, took quarterbacks late and just changing them up versus their matchups. Baker Mayfield is playing Washington. He looked good last week. You just never know which Baker you're going to get, but Washington's not very good. Excuse me. Wait, no, that was this last week. I got to relook at my. No, that's right. And then Gardner, I believe, is playing Miami. And Miami's not very good. Gardner's fun to watch. Two quarterbacks you can stream this week. This is the time, guys, to start looking at trades. If you're a guy who lost CMC, you're a guy who lost Barkley. Look for someone like me, who's stacked at running backs, that could use some help maybe at a tight end spot. Could use some help maybe at a wide receiver spot. Remember, your trades have to make sense to the other person. Don't just offer them trash. You're going to have to give up some stuff to get a good player. You're not going to go get, a starting running back for the Cardinals and offer them a second string wide receiver. That doesn't make it has to make sense for both sides. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to make sure you're balanced throughout the year. Should I drop Jimmy G? Yes. Especially if you already have another quarterback. You can only have one quarterback on your team, one defense on your team. No. T.Y. Hilton droppable. No. He has too much talent. If you've lost faith in him, see what you can trade him for. But he has too much potential there. Learning with a new quarterback. Great offensive line. I personally would not drop T.Y. Hilton. But now, like I said, I'm willing to trade him if there's something I need. I like another player more, but I'm not going to just give him away for free. Has the name, someone will pay for him. Like I say, new quarterback. They're going to get in some games that they're going to have to throw. He's a good receiver. Because remember, they didn't have a real off season. That's one reason we have so many injuries. Because a new quarterback had no off season. They got to get their timing down. That's why if you look across the board at receivers altogether, there isn't, for the most part, the normal studs just killing it week after killing it like they would, or tons of wide receivers killing it. I mean, you had Devontae Adams with a killer week in week one. But it's not like a lot of these guys that all should be having really good weeks or having really good weeks. It's because they're just now trying to even get into football shape. That's one of the ones, Harold, I would say, don't overreact. Don't overreact. But if you know someone who needs a receiver, say you need a running back, or someone really likes T.Y. Hilton, maybe there's a receiver that doesn't have as big of a name, but you have really good feelings, he's doing good. You can always trade them and use that name. Crowder or TY? Is it PPR league? TY has more opportunities. Is it PPR or standard? TY has good opportunities. TY is on a good team. It's going to score a lot. Crowder's on a horrible team. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot. But he will be their main guy, but Crowder's also hurt. I wouldn't mind having Crowder on my team. I don't think I'm not trading TY for him though. I mean, heck, the Crowder they're going to be covering up as much as they can now. He's the only like true weapon they have. Even Bell now is on IR. But I'm not going to trade TY for Crowder. You can get more. You can get more for TY. Just based off name alone, someone will give you more for him. I mean, Crowder's wasn't even drafted in some leagues. Again, though, trades. Look at those. Look at what other people need. What injuries are they facing? Sometimes you might have to package a deal together to get if you're really trying to get a 3-down running back. Take someone needs a wide receiver. Give them a good, and you're stacked at wide receivers. Give them a good wide receiver and maybe a tight end. Not, you can play the streaming game on tight end. I don't remember off the top of my head, Harold, who each one of those teams play. You'll have to remind me of that first. So you can always try to do a package deal to try to go after one of those more studs. Again, that's one reason I pile up on running backs. Just the opportunity are so hard to find. If I happen to be that guy who loses a stud running back at the beginning of the year, because there's always stud running backs that go down at the beginning of the year, I'm in a good position. If not, I have them to trade to the guy who end up in that bad situation. All right, guys, that's the waivers I'm seeing for week 3. Again, depends on your situation, depends on who you have on your team. If you're willing to, if you think you're in that bad a position to go ahead and burn your waiver wire. Luckily, I am not. Luckily, with running backs, I never seem to be. But if you happen to where you fell in the draft, you only had 2 good running backs, and you got to burn it, hey, keep playing hard, look at some trades. If there's any other questions, Bears versus Falcons, Washington versus Chargers. I would say Washington versus Chargers. Falcons still have a strong offense. Washington's actually, the defense has been playing pretty good. But they still haven't got their team to gel. I don't necessarily like either one of those options, but if those are the 2 options that you're getting. Alright, guys. That's all I have for tonight. But if you come up with any questions, make sure you join your Fantasy Football Break community. Drop your questions in the community. Me and Smitty will make sure that we get on there to answer any kind of questions that you have. Between now and game time, good luck to all, unless you're playing me. And I hope Smitty gets better and joins us for next week. Y'all have a great night.